Ensuring website accessibility helps local businesses and government agencies right here within Greater West Bloomfield reach a more broader audience, improve community engagement, and demonstrate inclusivity. Some common issues include poor color contrast, missing alternative text for images, lack of captions for videos, and so much more. There's so many different moving parts when it comes to a website's accessibility. So joining us right here live on The Splash to explain a little bit more about it, we have Director of Marketing and Digital Web Services for Oakland University, Mr. Todd Nucci. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I want to pretty much start off with just defining some of the basics, right? ADA and WCAG, from my knowledge, Americans with Disabilities Act and a Web Content Accessibilities Guideline. Can you just explain what these two things are first?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, what this means in a nutshell is this means that no matter what a user's disability is, when they come to your website, they need to be able to access it, engage with it like they would any able-bodied person who's visiting there as well.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Just like you would want anyone who has any disability to enter your physical location, you want the same thing for anyone who has some type of disability to visit your digital location as well. Thanks for providing that. Now, with that being said, are there any or what are the key obligations for government agencies and businesses regarding digital accessibility under those guidelines?
Yeah, so the key factors right now, I mean, so there's a change happening kind of right in front of us. So there's all of the accessibility issues that happened prior, which means, you know, your website, just like you said, you need to have your color contrast, duplicate links, things like that. But the next part that's coming out, these new implications that we're focusing on right now are going to involve data accuracy. So information accuracy is going to be a big one. And furthermore, on top of that, it's going to be whether you have your information behind a authenticated or an unauthenticated website, whether that's remediated as well. So if you have information behind a firewall, all of those pieces will need to be remediated moving forward. It's no longer going to be a space where we can hide some of those internal pieces. Every piece will need to be accessible moving forward.
Interesting. So it's a little bit more broader than just what we're seeing, just literally visibly on a website. It goes into making sure the information is accurate. They're not hiding any information and things in that direction. So I never really knew that, but that's why we have you here also. Director of Marketing and Digital Web Services for Oakland University, Mr. Todd Nucci, just talking about ADA and WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines and rules for government agencies in West Bloomfield and local businesses as well. With that being said, are there any steps that local businesses and organizations can take to make their websites and digital spaces more compliant with these rules?
Absolutely. I think the important thing to understand is that you're not going to do it all at once, right? So building a plan is going to be very important. And I think it all starts with educating your constituents, would that be the people you work with, the people that are going to be working on the website, uploading information. It's important that everybody understands the reasons why we're doing this, why we have to add the alt text to an image, like you said, why we have to add the caption to a video. Once people understand why they have to take those extra steps, then it becomes a little bit easier for them to implement those. So work to develop a plan. Like, you're not going to do it all at once. So taking care of those high trafficked areas first, where you expect to have user engagement, making sure those pages are accessible, and then working your way through the rest. I think it's important to show a best faith effort as you work through this. Again, the website, it's not going to happen right away. So it's going to take time. Just continue to show your best faith effort to your constituents, to the community, that, hey, we're working to provide you with that space that you expect.
Yes, it is a task in itself. I would agree with that, Mr. Nucci, considering the fact that if you already have a website established, you probably have so many different moving parts, a lot of content. To go in and enter that alternative text on every single image would take like we said, depending on what you have going on. So to start off with the most trafficked pages first makes so much sense, and I'm glad you provided that context as well. So I want to kind of pick your brain on something. Are there some common accessibility issues that you've probably seen on websites yourself, maybe even some local websites that you feel like should be addressed? And how should they be addressed?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the top most common issues that we see on a website where it applies to ADA compliance is going to be, like you said, the alt text, right? So ensuring that all images on your website have an alt text, and that means that a screen reader, if a user comes to your website and they're using a screen reader due to limited sight, it's going to be able to tell what the images are on that page. Some of them may just be decorative, but some of them are essential to the goal of that page, and those ones need to be outlined and identified for the users. The next piece is going to be color contrast. I think a lot of times we want to be a little creative with font colors and things like that, but understanding how that's going to read to somebody who has a color blindness or limited sight, it could really impact their ability to ingest that information. Another part is going to be automation. A lot of websites are putting videos on, or put a background video that will just play immediately when you come to that page. And for a lot of people, that's not a big deal. But for some, they need to be able to pause that video or stop it. Some way to control what is happening on that screen. Another big one is duplicate link. A lot of websites will just, if on a link that they expect someone to click on, it'll just say click here or read more. And you'll see that several times on a website. If you are using technology that just highlights those links, then it's just going to read more, and they're not going to understand what that link is. So explaining that full link, read more about this article, will give the person the understanding of what they're clicking, what they're clicking on.
It's a lot of, I'm gonna be honest, it may be considered a lot of tedious work, but it is important if you want to be considerate for your consumer, for the patrons, and the people that support your organization and your business. It's like I said, once again, great information that I hope our audience is listening to, especially if you own or manage a website or a digital space in general. You may have the option to do so, may have overlooked it, but this is why we actually do things like that. I want you to also briefly speak on how digital accessibility could impact customer engagement and brand reputation for local businesses.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I think that over 20% of the population is dealing with some sort of disability. So if we are stewards of the community, especially at Oakland University, it is our responsibility to ensure that each and every student, prospective student, current student who is working to improve their life has all of the tools and the ability to engage just as anyone else. And that's that can help separate you from other institutions. If that's your focus, then that 20% may start to lean your way as opposed to the other people, the other areas that are just not taking and worrying about that focus like you need to as a steward of the community.
Right, exactly. I'm glad you spoke to that too, because just comparing it to a physical side of things, like just imagine if you were a person in a wheelchair or a person on crutches or whatever, and they didn't have a wheelchair ramp, or they had a bunch of stairs that you just couldn't climb. So it's like literally limiting accessibility to your business or your organization by not being considerate of some of the other things people may deal with. So once again, thank you for that.
100%.
Don't want to hold you up too much longer, sir, but just want to ask any additional information that can help local businesses in regard to accessibility, trends that you foresee in digital accessibility, or other tips that you would like to give out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that everyone needs a tool to help them with this ADA. So making sure that you have a third-party tool that is going to scan your site, find those broken links, find misspellings, find duplicate links, and present them in a manner that's going to help you to resolve those. Again, it's not going to happen in one day, so you need to take it in chunks, and a tool is going to help that. Another piece in terms of trends, I'm very hopeful to see what AI means for accessibility, what it means for users of the tools and how it will open up doors for them, but also for the individuals working on the websites. How will AI help us to give them a more compliant website? So those two things I think are big in the future and moving forward, and ensuring that we're going to have compliant websites for everyone in the future.
It's almost like we cannot have a conversation about the future without somehow mentioning AI, because it's definitely part of our future regardless. Once again, we appreciate your information and your time. Director of Marketing and Digital Web Services for Oakland University, Mr. Todd Nucci. Thank you again.
Thank you.